There's a forest on the outskirts of town that no one talks about. It stretches for miles, dense and dark, with trees so tall they block out the sun. People call it the silent forest because no birds sing there, no insects hum, and even the wind seems afraid to pass through. The townsfolk warn against entering it. The forest watches, they say, and it never lets go. Years ago, before the warnings, the forest was a place of beauty. Families picnicked in its clearings, hikers explored its trails, and children played by the shallow streams. But that changed one summer when a group of campers went missing. They were 5 friends, all in their 20s, eager for adventure. They pitched their tents near the heart of the forest, a place locals avoided but couldn't explain why. The first night was uneventful. They laughed, roasted marshmallows, and told ghost stories around the fire. But as the night deepened, an unsettling quiet settled over the forest. The usual sounds of rustling leaves and distant animal calls were absent. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath. One of the friends, a woman with a keen sense of hearing, claimed she heard faint whispers in the distance. The others brushed it off as her imagination. But by the second night, the whispers grew louder. They seemed to come from all around them, echoing off the trees. The friends tried to find the source, shining their flashlights into the darkness, but there was nothing there. The third night was when the forest revealed its true nature. One by one, the friends began to disappear. It started with the young man who had ventured out to gather firewood. He didn't come back. The others searched for hours, calling his name, but there was no trace of him. Then another friend vanished, her scream cutting through the silence like a knife. By dawn, only one was left, a man named Eric. Eric stumbled out of the forest 2 days later, covered in scratches and babbling incoherently. He spoke of shadows that moved on their own, of trees that seemed to close in around him, and of a figure with hollow eyes that watched from the darkness. He couldn't explain how he escaped, only that he ran until he collapsed near the edge of town. The townsfolk found him and took him to the hospital, but he never recovered. Eric refused to speak of what happened again, but his final words before retreating into silence haunted everyone who heard them. The forest is alive. Since then, no one has dared to enter the silent forest. Hunters avoid it, hikers steer clear, and even the bravest souls won't venture near. Over the years, more stories emerged of strange lights seen through the trees, of distant cries for help that vanished when approached, and of the eerie feeling of being watched. But no one who entered the forest ever came back to confirm the tales. One stormy autumn, a new family moved into town. They were city folk, unaware of the local legends, and eager to escape the hustle and bustle of urban life. Their house sat at the edge of the forest, its backyard bordering the trees. The parents dismissed the warnings as superstitions, and their 2 children, a boy and a girl, were too young to understand. For weeks, everything seemed fine. The children played in the yard, the parents tended to their garden, and life was peaceful. But then the whispers started. The boy heard them first, faint and indistinct, like voices carried on the wind. He told his parents, but they brushed it off as the rustling of leaves. Then the girl heard them too, and she claimed the whispers were calling her name. The parents grew uneasy. At night, they began to notice strange things, shadows moving where there shouldn't be any, a faint glow emanating from the forest, and the feeling of being watched. The family dog, usually fearless, refused to go near the trees, growling at something only it could see. One night, the boy disappeared. His bedroom window was open, curtains billowing in the wind, and his bed was empty. The parents searched frantically, but there was no sign of him. Desperate, they called the police, who organized a search party to comb the forest. The search lasted for days, but they found nothing, not even a footprint. The family was devastated, but they refused to leave. The mother spent her days staring out the window, waiting for her son to return. The father took to walking the perimeter of the forest, shouting his son's name into the void. The girl, now too frightened to sleep, claimed she saw her brother standing among the trees, beckoning her to come closer. Then, one by one, the family began to vanish. First, the father disappeared during one of his nightly walks. Then the mother, who was last seen sitting by the window, her gaze fixed on the forest. The girl was the last to go. Neighbors reported hearing her screams one night, but by the time they arrived, the house was empty. The family was gone, leaving behind only a few scattered belongings and an open door leading to the forest. The house has remained abandoned ever since. Those who pass by claim they can still hear the whispers, faint but persistent, calling to anyone who dares to listen. And sometimes on quiet nights, they say you can see shadows moving among the trees, as if the forest is watching, waiting for its next victim. The silent forest remains a mystery, its secrets hidden among the shadows and whispers. No one knows what lies at its heart, and no one who ventures in ever returns to tell the tale. But one thing is certain, the forest is alive. and it doesn't like to let go.